Hello, I am Jason Hahn, and we are back with another podcast episode of Mega Manga Mondays. And we are talking about Dragon Ball Super Chapter 82 today. Again, I am Jason Hahn, and I am a writer for Screen Rant. I write video game news, and I am joined with people who are more versed in comics than I. But we are all Dragon Ball Super fans, and we're ready to talk about it. So, Steven, you want to go ahead and start?
Yeah, I mean, I could just start by saying that I'm a huge Bardock fan. So anything involving Bardock is always a great thing. Because I was first introduced to him, when I was watching that film Bardock, the Father of Goku. Still have it on VHS. So everything that I do is like comparing like the old Bardock with the new. So I mean, just like not getting too deep into the weeds, and just really glad that they brought him back, especially, I mean, using, bringing him back with the Scouter. I thought that was really great. Like they were able to, dive into the audio file that he had saved in the Scouter. It was like a great way of bringing back like a tool that's been kind of, made completely irrelevant in like the later years. And
so. Absolutely. Well, yeah, they did. They found a Scouter in this chapter, and we'll go around and introduce everybody before we get more into it. But we all got Screen Rant comic book article writers here, and Carlyle. Would you like to say a little something?
Work in the manga department at Screen Rant, and mostly write about Dragon Ball and My Hero and One Punch and JoJo. So. Very, very excited for these chapters when they come out. The Super manga has been great lately, so very interested in seeing where this goes.
Yeah, same. I was a big fan of the Morrow arc too, and this one, it's starting to, I think we still have another couple twists along the way. I think it's going to get even bigger. But how about you, Francesco?
Hey everyone, I'm Francesco. I'm a senior writer for Screen Rant comic section. I mostly write about Marvel, but I'm also part of the blossoming manga section, which is growing and doing better and better thanks to my colleagues here. And I also am a huge Dragon Ball fan. Of course, it was the very first manga I read when I was a kid, and so it's very much close to my heart. I've been enjoying Super. I think it was just nice to see, one of the things you grew up with suddenly make a comeback, and having all the things that you always wanted to see in a sequel, right? You were mentioning Bardock and all other things. So it's nice, and I actually really enjoyed this chapter we're going to discuss. I wrote an article about it just this morning, so it's fresh in my mind.
Good, man. I too started out with Dragon Ball Z as pretty much my first introduction into, anime. And I mean, technically I'd go with Pokemon, but that's not nearly the same level of plot and stuff like that. I too have enjoyed Dragon Ball Super. It's not quite, as well thought out as we'd all, our as we've grown older, our plot or our tastes for plots and plot twists and everything are a little bit more intricate. But as Francesco has said in a couple discussions before, these are all the archetypes that a lot of the animes and mangas that they're pretty much all based on Dragon Ball Z and the characters that were established in it. And I feel like since the anime ended, all the arcs are starting to tie in together, and they're bringing up little Easter eggs from things that were previously not canon, and they're kind of making it into canon, like Bardock and Broly. And I'm having a blast reading it almost every month. I thought, especially with chapter 82, this seems to be the chapter where we're kind of just I don't know, it seemed to be kind of pacing itself for bigger things to come. Currently, Goku is jumping around the universe with his instant teleportation while the main villain is chasing him. And we got a lot of comedy in this chapter. I think it's just kind of the breath before some dramatic stuff happens. Because a couple chapters ago, we saw Gas completely destroy Granola, and quite brutally, actually. And since then, Goku's kind of taken it upon himself and jumped around. And I think my favorite part of the chapter was he teleported to wherever Whis is hanging out.
Yeah.
And it got me really excited for a minute. I was just like, is Whis gonna have to smack gas? Like,
It would have been fun if they fought for a minute.
yeah,
But Gas was too smart to do that.
yeah, absolutely. He's just like, I mean, if we even got just a small glimpse of like, he's like, do you want some? And then Whis just like flashes something, intimidating. One of my favorite moments of the manga, actually, I think Yamcha grabs Whis' arm and he's like, would you kindly take your hand off of me?
Oh yeah.
And just the way that every version of the voice acting has done it is just such a cold, terrifying. It's lovely to know that Whis is capable of such terrifying.
As far as the anime goes, Whis is Ian Sinclair, who is a phenomenal voice actor. He has a lot of range, so switching from comedy like that is very, very easy for him. That's a good casting.
Absolutely. But one theory I had that I almost think they're saving it for later in this arc, because they brought up Frieza. Is kind of a pivotal character for the Heaters, the mercenaries of this arc. They've mentioned him a couple times, and I thought it would have been really compelling if Goku teleported to wherever Frieza was.
Yeah.
And then we got some sort of interaction between Gas and Frieza. But because they didn't do that, it's making me think that Frieza's going to pop up. I think they're almost saving that for later in the arc. But yeah, what were some things?
They also did like a special feature on, I think it was a few months ago, on Weekly Shonen Jump, on sort of the Frieza family and the Frieza army. It was, one of these, they have these spotlights sometimes, just a couple of pages with drawings and then words, like sort of expanding on information that mostly but sometimes there's something new. And they did that, I think it was a few months ago. So maybe it's a teaser of things to come.
Yeah, I know whenever a manga volume comes out, we usually get a good, few pages of like recap essentially. And sometimes they even throw a little bit of new information and like character summaries and stuff. And one of my favorite bits is the authors will even comment a little bit on, that part of the story, how they got to it, or sometimes they'll just talk about a lovely sandwich they had for lunch. But this chapter, I don't know, what were some other moments of this that really stuck out for you guys on this chapter?
I'll just say I'll start because my only criticism, just because it reminded me of the last saga with Moro, is when they were when Goku led Gas to the galactic prison. Mm-hmm. It kind of reminded me of like, what if Moro had survived? Now, I mean, and this is going back to something I've been writing about for a while, but something that I really liked in the Moro arc at the very beginning was when they brought up the idea that Majin Buu could actually defeat Moro. If you remember, he had swallowed a long time ago, he had swallowed the Grand Supreme Kai, who was the one who so he was the one who sealed Moro originally, and he was being held in at the galactic prison, but then of course he came out. So then when they were trying to figure out what to do about Moro since he was back, one of the characters, I forgot his name, was like, we should see if Boo has those powers, since he swallowed the Grand Supreme Kai, so maybe he can actually save the day. And like, I was really excited about that. Like, even though it was the beginning of the arc, I was thinking, oh wow, will Boo actually save the day, be the one to actually stop Moro? And even though that didn't happen, it would have been really cool if he did, because then he would have sealed Moro. He would be in the galactic prison, and then what if that had happened? Once Goku and Gas transport there, Moro would be there, like in a cell. That would be kind of a cool thing. I mean, it was just something that came to my mind when I was reading it. Like, oh man, if only he was, Moro was sealed and is in the galactic prison, but he's not. But
yeah,
That was my only criticism. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. My brain kind of did that too. As soon as we got to the Galactic Prison, I was like, wait, we've been here. We've been here recently. And then I had to do like the mental, was just like, there's no way Moro could be here, right? And I was just like, no, yeah, he got erased. Goku gave him a chance and he still got erased. Manga spoiler or anime only spoilers.
Reverse spoiler.
Yeah. If you're watching this and you haven't read all the way, you're watching the wrong video, go somewhere else. But
get caught up and come back.
If you're finding this tape in the ruins of an apocalyptic future, we used to read the pictures with words on it. Anyways,
this would be a long podcast if we're just talking to people in an apocalyptic future.
No, yeah. Well, what I want to say is I was not a huge fan of this arc, because I didn't really like the just make a wish, you're the strongest guy. It seems like a bit sort of dumb, or also kind of against what Dragon Ball is all about, right? But then reading this chapter, I realized that that's actually the best thing that could ever happen, because now you have established that the good guys, they can win this fight, right? They're not strong enough, okay? And there's no way, because he just wish to be better than them, right? So there's no way they can catch up. But this means that we actually got probably the best fight in the whole history of the franchise, because they're not just punching each other, they are finding all these ways to keep going, like, oh, I have more experience than you, you're just awakened to your power, you don't know how to use it, and then I can use instant transmission where you can. And actually, what Goku did in this chapter, to jump from place to place to make us follow him until he got so far away that he couldn't come back. It was genius, right? And that's something you don't usually see in Dragon Ball, because it's an old manga. They just punch each other, and the fights that if you look, I mean, if you read them back now, they're not even that exciting. They're just exchanging blow, but one of the two is stronger than the other. So that's how it goes, right? Yeah. And after that, shonen kind of evolved a lot, right? Fights are a lot more about techniques, tactics. There are a lot of manga that have these fights that don't just rely on who's stronger, but who is. Yeah, and that's what they're doing now. So I see it as a huge step forward, and also for Dragon Ball Super, for sort of breaking the mold of its predecessor. That, as you said, Jason, is basically the founding stone for everything that will happen. So doing that again now, for us, of course, it's great because we are seeing our childhood come back. But maybe for modern, like younger readers, they see this, that's so different from what I'm used to, right? So I'm very happy with the direction they're taking.
Absolutely. And I think that's something that Dragon Ball, I mean, all series of Dragon Ball have done a great job of establishing the strength of your villain and then just making it seem like they're against impossible odds. And I think it's, especially with this chapter, it's really when the series shines, when they can't just punch their way out of it. They have to come up with creative ways to do it. And to piggyback on exactly your point, Francesco, wishing to be the strongest guy doesn't necessarily mean you're the most skilled fighter. It just means you punch the hardest, I guess. But it was kind of back to Dragon Ball Super Tournament of Power, like with Jiren. They just made him seem so astronomically strong that when he did finally start to, you start to see his weaknesses over people being outsmarting them. Like it might have been different in the manga, but in the anime, Hit like used his powers to like freeze Jiren in this weird time space thing. And if Kefla had fused and at that same time and they actually coordinated, they could have beaten Jiren, which is, again, like whenever this series relies on the smarts and you get to see the writer kind of flex their interesting strategies, it's really where it shines.
Yeah, you make a great point. That's why the tournament was the best part of this manga, because that's where they could do all these, battlefield tactics and have weaker characters come up.
They actually had to work as a team.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's a team?
That's essentially what our universe's team did. As soon as they're like, okay, Gohan and Piccolo, we got a team going. We're going to keep this strategy. Shit, where's Goku and Vegeta? They left already. Okay, great. There goes our plan. But yeah, I too was a little skeptical of this arc when it first started. I wasn't really feeling Granola's character until we kind of learned, and we got it branched in with Bardock's story and the history of the Saiyans, and then we started to expand all that. And no, I'm legitimately into it. I think it's kind of it's really something that just comes with Shonen Jump, is the balance of comedy and action and drama. And sometimes, especially with this chapter,
it's hard to do that, actually.
It's incredibly difficult to do that.
The one to do it best after Dragon Ball was One Piece.
Yeah,
because it's so hard to strike a balance between action and comedy.
Absolutely. And I kind of feel like this chapter almost leaned too much into comedy.
The stuff that happened at the jail was a little bit far.
It was a little ridiculous. Yeah.
It's what's going to be even more ridiculous is that's how he's going to end up beating Gas, probably. As he's going to somehow he's going to make him pee himself, or he's going to embarrass him so much that they're going to use that as an opening or something. But it's almost like, did they dedicate that many chapters of one of the world's most popular mangas to a bathroom joke, or are they going to is it going to pop up later and be a major reason? But then it would be even more ridiculous if that's how they beat Gas. Like
that's the beauty of manga. That's the beauty of manga, I think, that they don't take themselves too seriously, right? Mm. You don't have this mix in superhero comic books, right? You have some superhero comic books who are comedy books, so gonna get there. But usually, you don't. But that's why manga is great, because again, sometimes they can just stop and make a bathroom joke, and then
and that's like fine. Part of the definition of manga. They have a different word for dramatic comics. That's not manga. It's like gekiga or something. Manga specifically means comedic, so there's always going to be jokes in it. That's just the way it is.
Oh yeah, and I don't totally dislike it. I think it's just going from a couple chapters ago, we were going from Granola like getting shot and impaled, and some panels that were like references to some of the more brutal moments of like Naruto and Yu Yu Hakusho and stuff like that. And then 2 chapters later, we have, haha, you peed your pants. No, I didn't. And then the garbage truck dumps on him, and he is in a bathtub. And Goku. So he was teleporting Gas all over the place, and it was where they kind of flexed the idea that Goku isn't just being an idiot. He's being incredibly intelligent with his strategy and how well he has mastered instant teleportation by teleporting places, and Gas isn't quite as experienced with it. So he ended up teleporting or setting up Gas to teleport into places that, this is where a garbage truck is about to dump a bunch of space goo. I'm not quite sure. And then we land in the bathtub of our universe's king, which Goku has touched his penis many times, and all kinds of stuff. But yeah, and then as we mentioned earlier, it teleports to Whis, and he pretty much just says, I was thinking he would behave around you. and
he did. So.
And yeah, he did. But that kind of brings up a question I was having. So, I mean, is Goku just so much better at instant teleportation that he doesn't have the restrictions on the range?
He still had the restrictions. That's why he was going from planet to planet to planet, because he couldn't just jump to Whis' planet or wherever he was immediately.
I guess the thing is that because you have to track someone spiritual energy to do that. Right. So Goku was going to places where he knew people. So every time there was someone he knew, So when he went back, he did it so fast that Gus could not just follow Goku's signature.
Okay. Because that was my point, was if he doesn't have the restriction, then Gas would have just been like, oh, okay, I'm just going to teleport back because he could sense it. But
I think it was because wherever Whis was in relation to Planet Cereal, Goku would have probably, one of the first people he would have thought of was Whis. He probably wasn't able to sense him. That's why he was going on planet to planet, and then he got close enough. Anyway,
that's exactly what I was about to say.
it's well thought out. So we showed a panel of Vegeta kind of standing up. I'm not sure if he's totally out of this fight. We usually get. No, I'm really hoping we get to see some more Ultra Ego. But it's just kind of as fans of this series, we know there's so many techniques in the back pocket and stuff. We could do fusion. There's all sort of ways that they can rise to the occasion, but I'm not sure how they're going to go about it this time. I think this chapter we got that new tease of Goku somehow having the time to ask Whis about how to improve his Ultra Instinct, which was something that I really enjoyed in the Morrow arc. Was we got a little bit more of a fleshed out version of Ultra Instinct, like a slim version and then a full mastery of it. And Goku is pretty much able to use it, when he wants now, to an extent. But I think that they're kind of teasing an even further evolution of that. And I'm hoping that we see that very soon.
Because he said that he's actually unable to use it, because that's something only an angel can use, because they're cold emotionless creatures. So it's basically impossible for Goku to do it properly. So he is going to develop something new of his own, which is very likely to be related to whatever Bardock did in the fight that we will find out about next month. I think it's monthly,
hopefully.
Right?
Yes, monthly.
Yeah. That was something that I thought was kind of weird. Was we found out that the scouter that Bardock used previously in the past, when he fought a very childlike version of Gas, which was kind of weird watching Bardock punch like this little child consistently. But that's just what Saiyans do, I guess. But in that audio recording, Goku had a flashback of his mom and dad sending him off, and then we get a couple panels of like a weird Goku like getting zapped with like a flashback, almost as if he's receiving some sort of power up or something.
I think it just kind of triggered a long dormant memory. So I think that's what that's supposed to look like, but it could be. I mean, there's no reason that it couldn't be. I think that part of what's interesting here has been Vegeta's reaction to this, just because Vegeta has such a strong relationship with his father that he's almost more excited than Goku is to see Goku get to know his father. He's definitely got a lot more respect here than he usually does, which is interesting.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, because that's something that Goku's never really had, was time to reflect on like who he really was and stuff. And it seems like we're starting to get that hint that might be where the arc is going to be heading, is for more Goku kind of exploring his genes and asking like, okay, well, where exactly did I come from, and making him a little bit more curious about it. I'm pretty interested to see where it goes. I'm almost wondering if like when he fell and hit his head and forgot everything on Earth, is it might have shooken some things loose, and maybe this flashback reconnected those things and will kind of reawaken some sort of Saiyan power. We've already awakened so many Saiyan powers within Goku and stuff like that, but maybe that's where they're heading. I don't know. Maybe some sort of
there's ancestral power, perhaps. Like
the
power, literally the power of his father.
Yeah, that's. I think that's something
I hope we're not getting the golden monkey from GT.
Oh man, I Goku, like golden monkey baby Vegeta. Oh, there's too many words there. But yeah, I'm curious to see where that goes. Yeah, I mean, gas is going to show up. We've been given the, the planet will blow up in 5 minutes sort of thing. We've gotten the ticking clock with gas is going to be there in like 20 minutes. So yeah, I think cereal and Vegeta, or no, granola and Vegeta are probably going to throw some fists for a little bit, but I don't think they're done fighting. I'm not sure what's going to happen next, really. Where do you guys hope will happen next?
Well, I mean, with Vegeta, at least, I mean, something that I've been really enjoying with, seeing how his character's been growing in Super is how he's been learning to embrace things that he wouldn't have normally, or fighting styles that he wouldn't have normally used in the past. I know we went over this in our first podcast that we didn't use, since it was kind of just a throw up of information. But like throughout, well, at least even in Dragon Ball Z, like instant transmission was a move that Vegeta never would use. Like he was always against it for the longest time. Then finally in Super, he got to the point, even though he called it a cheap parlor trick, he still ended up having to embrace it to some degree, even going to Planet Yard Rat to learn other moves like instant transmission that he would have never used before because of the Saiyan pride, because he's always about strength and power and blah. So, and even then, like he used instant transmission once to get back to the fight with Moro. And I think it would be incredible if once he gets, or if he gets into that fight with Gas, since they're putting this massive focus on instant transmission, if he would have to actually use that technique again, just because how much he hates it. I mean, I know like the one time he used instant transmission to get from Yard Rat to Earth to fight Moro, he said, that's the last time I'm going to use it. He's like, I don't want to use this again.
But yeah, I think he even called Goku out. He's just like, don't worry, I'm not going to steal your cheap technique, Kakarot. Like, oh, he didn't like that. He really didn't like using that.
Yeah. So I mean, it would just be a great growth of character if he ends up having to rely on instant transmission again, like to such a high degree, since that seems to be like the major way of defeating Gas. That, or another point of contention with me, like in the Moro saga, when Vegeta, again, he learned an attack that Goku couldn't master in a short amount of time, the Force Spirit Fission.
Yeah.
And he ended up using that attack that Goku couldn't use to help Goku defeat Moro. Like it would be like he needs to like regain some, pride. Like it would just be great for him if he could actually use Force Spirit Fission against Gas and it working for
That's
himself.
an interesting idea.
Yeah, I mean, something that like it felt like I know like Dragon Ball, they're always trolling Vegeta fans. They want Vegeta to surpass Goku, and he's in Super, he's gotten farther than he ever has before, but there's always something that gets in the way. And I don't know.
That's my only criticism. Like, this is the second time that make perfect sense plot-wise to have Vegeta win fight. Okay, because I mean, I think the Ultra Ego was the coolest thing in years. Yeah. So it would be just perfect to have it end right there.
Then it didn't even work. Like that's the sad thing.
But I guess that it's always going to be like this, right? And but it would be actually better if it was somehow Granola, because that way you wouldn't have, it's always Goku's having the day, blah blah blah. So we know that they are on par now. So just let this other guy get his revenge, because it would make sense.
Yeah, I think it's important for the arc that Granola be the one to defeat at least Elec, if not the group as a whole, just for his arc, because the way that it's structured is so similar to Vegeta's initial arc, and having Goku be the one to beat Frieza stole a little bit from. I mean, obviously Goku had plenty of reasons to fight Frieza, but he doesn't have a lot of reasons to be against the heaters like that. And all of the motivation is on Granola, so he really does need to be the one to win here.
And Granola's going to die soon too. I mean, since that Whis, he lost a crap ton of his life. And kind of going off of that, with Granola, I mean, I know we've been talking about fusions. Like I always thought that it would be incredible if Granola had to fuse with either Goku or Vegeta, just because
Granola's
going to this.
Granola's going to guy.
Yeah. I mean,
like the toys they could sell.
Like, I mean, he's gone through like this journey of where, he's hated the Saiyans for so long, like he's based his entire life on that. And then all of a sudden now he is forced to embrace them because Goku's father, Bardock, saved him and his mother. The next step would be for him to be able to accept help from a Saiyan by actually fusing with him. Like that would be such a profound moment. Like it would even like surpass Vegeta's.
I would totally destroy the whole background of the fusion technique where you have to be super synchronized with everything. So it works only with someone really well.
Right.
It wouldn't be the first time that they're like, we know we've established this, but it'd be really cool.
Everybody does that. Like, I mean, Marvel does it all the time, so it's they don't care. They literally don't care about it anymore. But it would be. No, I want to add a couple of things. I'm not specifically related to this chapter, but just a couple of things I found out today actually. And one is that the artist for Dragon Ball Super.
Oh yeah,
Toyotaro. There is a theory that he is the guy who did the famous Dragon Ball AF doujinshi.
One of the Screen Rant writers found that or something. Like he found a connection. Yeah.
They have very very similar nickname. Like the guy who did the fan fiction had sort of a short nickname, but it sounds very similar to Toyotaro. That's on Wikipedia too now. So
for those please hold that thought because I do want to dive into that. For those of you who don't know, Dragon Ball AF was a series that was 100% fan made, I believe. It came out after Dragon Ball GT, and it was more of fans who were just like, no, we need more, don't end this series. And so they're like, okay, 100 years into the future, it's Goku's great grandkid versus Vegeta's great grandkid and a martial arts tournament. And they somehow, I don't know what year this came out, but they ended up coming out with like an episode or two that was 100% fan made. I never saw it. It's one of those legendary nerd things that a lot of people thought
even the name
never existed.
Even the name, someone says that AF stands for April's Fool.
Oh.
Yeah, but someone says it stands for April's Fool, so it was all sort of a huge joke. But it's after future, so it was very. It was funny.
Right. And, well, nowadays it stands for something different, which would just be like, that is so Dragon Ball. That is Dragon Ball AF. Like
AF, yeah. And the other thing I found out today is that everything we are seeing in Dragon Ball Super, and I'm just dumb for not realizing this sooner, it's actually set in that 10 years span that you see in the very last chapter of Dragon Ball Z. When there is a 10-year skip and they go to that final tournament when they meet Boo's reincarnation, right? So everything. So somehow I thought that was after that. So that Super was after that, but it's not. Right. It starts just after Majin Buu is defeated, and so it takes place in the 10 years before the last Dragon Ball Z chapter. Which is obviously I don't think that's canon anymore because that didn't make sense. I mean,
right. But there's no way that they could have known. Like,
but technically, that's how it is. Like in theory, that's how it is.
Maybe we'll see a revised version of that at some point.
They'll just redo that episode. That'll be the final episode of Super when it comes
exactly
back.
the same. Animated
Yeah.
different.
I had heard that theory a little while ago, and somebody even tried to. I think they went back and like colored in the background, like in the audience, like a purple cat person. So they're like trying to make it seem like, oh, you see, Whis and Beerus were there the whole time. They're brilliant. And we're like, no, there's no way. Like when they were making that episode, they had no idea that Dragon Ball Super was ever going to be a thing.
What's funny, the kind of going off of that was when I was revisiting, Bardock, the father of Goku, watching it, they changed a particular moment from the original film where Bardock sees Goku in the future as a kid, doing stuff on Earth. And he's saying like, what Kakarot, what are you doing? Why are you doing? And a fan replaced that with images of Goku Black. So making it seem like, what are you doing, Goku?
Oh, man.
What? I was like watching, like, I don't remember that in the original film.
Oh, yeah. In the 90s film, they had a scene of Goku Black.
Yeah, right.
Oh, man.
There's also a short manga that came out before Super, I think. I remember reading it, but I don't remember the title, that deals with with Bardock's story right after he gets...
Wasn't it like Chapter 0 or something? Like Dragon Ball Zero?
Ball Minus, I think.
Yeah, because when he gets killed by Frieza, he doesn't actually get killed, he jumps into the future. And there... Oh no, in the past, sorry, into the past. I think it's the past of planet Namek or whatever, and he meets Frieza's ancestor or someone, and he fights him, and he becomes
the Super Saiyan, right?
It's the legend of they retcon the legend of the Super Saiyan. So it was like, how did Frieza know about this thing? That's because this ancestor of him fought Bardock in the past, and Bardock turned Super Saiyan. So sort of the legend lived on.
Yeah,
I think that's canon too. I like it. It's a real thing. I don't remember the name or when.
Yeah, I think it was Dragon Ball Minus, and it like went back and retconned a few things, and I'm unsure if on the status if it's canon.
And I think it ends with Bardock coming back to the same place or dying again. But there's this whole. Or not. I don't remember. Honestly, I don't remember. Right. Maybe just lives in the past and then obviously dies at some point. I don't know. So that could explain something. Well, guys, I just remembered about it. I didn't do any research. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So, since we're on the topic of Bardock and retconning, I'm actually just curious. Like, did any of you like watch Bardock, the father of Goku, back in the day?
I had not seen it.
It's been years, but they kind of they had the whole Bardock movie, and then the Broly movie came out, and they kind of just like pick and chose, destroyed it, or they took everything that they liked and kind of.
I had all the Z movies on VHS.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
I wonder if they still work.
And I'm just curious, like what other fans. I mean, I've been seeing some, opinions out there. But, I can reference it since it was in this latest chapter. But just the fact, the memory of, Bardock and Jean, sending Goku out, like that was the memory he remembered. Like in the original Bardock, the father of Goku, Bardock was very indifferent of his son. And even like when he came back to Planet Vegeta, because, he faced Dodoria and, he was getting those visions of the future. He went to Planet Vegeta to try and convince his comrades, we got to get out of here. And they're like, no, you're crazy. And then Bardock goes and sees his son for the first time. And then, not only, he sees him, he's like, he's a low level. I don't care about him. He actually leaves him just to get him, like, because he'll be destroyed. And like, I'm just like wondering, like, I know a lot of people might have been upset, by this retcon in Bardock about, him accepting Goku more. And I bet, for those fans, this particular scene, bringing that from the Broly revamped Broly movie and bringing that into the manga, I bet that, really upset them. I don't know. I mean, Francesco, you said you watched it. I don't know. Are you fine with this change in Bardock or? I mean, I think about it all the time. So I mean,
I think they had to make him more likable.
I think,
personally.
and they wanted to make it more likable, but then it's sort of. I mean, it was interesting that the Saiyans were just bad people, right?
Yeah. I just wrote about this, and I hope it's up. I hope the article's up by the time this video comes out.
I'm not a fan of making all the bad guys good. Like this was a major turn off for me. For example, in Naruto. Because most 99.9% of the bad guys somehow in the end they turn out to be good. So, but you know,
it's actually 78.7.
Oh yeah, sure.
Oh man, you must not like Black Clover then. That's a big thing in Black Clover as well.
Yeah,
but you know, he's the father of the main character, so I guess they had to do it. And maybe in this flashback we will see that he's not actually that good, and maybe it will be.
I mean, he was still there on the planet destroying the place. Like he's not. Totally,
I mean, remember the first time
he also missed the birth of his son still, like in the manga, like in this revamp.
That was regular. But the first time we saw Vegeta, the very first time he appears, he's eating someone's arm.
Yeah,
you guys remember that?
I forgot about that.
That's when he's wearing his weird colored outfit in the anime.
Oh yeah, it was really off. That's right. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's my favorite skin to play as in the game. Well, yeah, and the movie they kind of retconned that too. We got a little tiny baby Vegeta. Was he eating somebody's arm in that too?
He's hanging out with Raditz.
Yeah. There was a little Raditz, and his hair was still at his ankles.
Oh man, I hope we won't get a Raditz retcon too. I mean,
we were just talking about this Carlyle on the thing. On the chat. It's like
we've been talking about that too.
Was that the article that you are hoping to get up?
I wrote about that a little bit because he does. I mean, Goku mentions that Raditz tried to kill him in this very chapter, but Bardock doesn't even reference Raditz's existence at all. So it really creates a strange scenario here because it's like, why would he care about this one child than the other? My speculation is that they just take the Saiyan children away so young that he didn't have any chance to bond with Raditz at all, and that's why he's such an asshole.
He didn't have.
It makes sense because that it's basically a militaristic society where the kids don't belong to their parents. They just get shipped off to planets to conquer them or whatever. And it makes sense, you know. It's coherent.
As children,
it's a harsh, like ruthless society where you get basically tagged at birth. Okay, so you're gonna be good, you're gonna be trash or whatever. It makes sense, right? Why should they change that? That not everything has to be nice and good.
I mean,
you know?
I don't think that everybody needs to be okay with that situation. I think it's more interesting if there are characters who are dealing with it but don't really like the way that things are and want it to change.
Which you have, because essentially both Goku and Vegeta. Yeah. I mean, Goku has the whole lump in the head thing, but Vegeta grew out of it on his own. Like he developed his own in his own way. And so you already have that. There's no need to retcon everything. Oh, you know, these Saiyan were actually good guys. Yeah, they were like eating people and destroying planets. But then when they go home, they got really they played with the children. So
right. We had brought up that the title page for this chapter doesn't happen until like chapter 30 or page 30 or something, and then we kind of jump back into more flashbacks with Bardock. We're about to get that opened up because that seems to be the audio recording. That's where they, at least the cliffhanger that they ended. They always have really weird cliffhangers in Dragon Ball Super. There's so many other animes or mangas, a lot like One Piece or something, where the cliffhangers, they ended on one of the best panels of the whole chapter, and anticipation is crazy. And then I feel like it was the same thing with the last Dragon Ball Super chapter, chapter 81. where it's just like, oh, we're instant teleportate or we're teleporting everywhere. You gonna be cool with that? Oh no, I'm not gonna be cool with that. All right, next month, what's gonna happen? Kind of the same thing happened here where it's just like, okay, I have a flashback and we're just starting to get more. We're going to get the whole Bardock flashback of what happened when he fought a childlike gas on the next chapter. And I think it would be, I thought it was really interesting that they brought up Raditz. I really wonder if that's all we're going to have brought up of Raditz. I think it'd be really weird if his character somehow had something to do with the plot at this point. It would come out of left field.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, I'm hoping it's just like an Easter egg type of thing because he didn't
Yeah.
even say Raditz. I don't think he just said.
No, he just said my brother.
Yeah, my brother. Yeah.
Oh, really?
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
What if this connection makes Goku 100% Saiyan again, and then he's a douchebag and all that stuff? No, that would be a lot of character development out the window. So hopefully they don't do that. Just kind of scrolling through the chapter real quick, and we had a nice little power struggle in space where Goku was beam struggling, and then afterwards he looks at his hands and they're all messed up. So it's just consistently reminding us that even though he is trading blows with this guy, he's getting hit like a truck, which is something that I thought was really cool with the Jiren fight back in the anime. Was even as they're slugging it out with Jiren, Vegeta will go off and be like, man, this guy hits like a steel beam. Like it's just it's always a nice refresher of like, yeah, these guys are really powerful and probably more powerful than anything we saw in Z. But at this point, we're bringing up Vegeta is also really trained in instant teleportation. I would love to see like a combo attack if Vegeta and Goku decided to actually work together instead of fusing together. If them like jumping all over the place and getting strategic hits. I just feel like they've really laid the groundwork for some great strategic battles at this point. And again, it might be one of those things where my hopes are up here for them to pull out some amazing strategies, and it's not just going to be okay, well, I found a new power up and now I've teleported behind you. Wow, he's fast. I'm hoping we avoid that. But
that definitely makes a lot of sense. But I have a feeling that that's probably not going to happen, just because of like when Vegeta first went on Planet Cereal, he went through like this crazy like villainous streak. He's like, I can now fight at full potential. He's fighting dirty now.
Yeah, that's my favorite part of the arc so far. Was Vegeta being like, I don't have to hold anything back.
And like it even tells even though we've always known that Vegeta and Goku are frenemies, Vegeta is basically saying, I would rather die than fight next to you. I mean, I think we're at this part where their relationship is as fractured as it ever has been. So I mean, if they fought together, I mean, that would be pretty intense for that reason. But I don't know, part of me hopes that they don't, because I kind of like this.
I think that there's two characters in the world that are never going to sit down and talk it out. It's Goku and Vegeta. So I don't know how you resolve that, but it'll be interesting.
I don't know. I think every once in a while, especially throughout Super, we've gotten a few glimpses of how they've obviously grown a friendship through everything that they've gone through, and they really only team up when they really, really have to. And Vegeta's got to scoff at least 3 times. But I don't know. Just at this point, I mean, it's just more interesting plot wise that they don't bury the hatchet and stuff like that. But just every once in a while, we get those moments where they are watching each other's backs and stuff like that, especially when they're training on Earth and stuff like that. Those moments I really like, actually. It kind of brings the levity, especially when they're training like on Beerus's planet.
Or they come out of the time chamber with those beards.
Oh, man, bring back the beards. I love my manga beards.
I hope that when the whole Dragon Ball ends, it ends with the Rocky 3 and the Goku and Vegeta going with a punch, and then, and that's the final ever in the history of Dragon Ball. It just sounds like that.
Well, honestly, how they ended the anime, I thought they end both doing their stances that they had.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Oh, it was fantastic. It pretty much just ends with them training together on Earth in the rocky fields, and they pretty much end it both on their stances that they did in their very first fight. So if that was the final bit of Dragon Ball, we were ever going to get, that would have been okay. But yeah, I'm really excited to watch the anime eventually pick up again. A lot of stuff happens in the Moro arc. You brought up earlier, Stephen, about Boo becoming relevant, and Boo had one of my favorite fights in the Moro arc, especially when he has like 6 arms at one point and he's just taking Moro on by himself. I really like the idea of Boo being relevant because especially just how much they set his character up to be able to do and how unstoppable he was previously. Obviously there's not a whole lot of character development to do with a giant pink childlike alien destroyer monster, but I really like that bit in the back or in that last arc, and I'm really excited to watch it animated.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, anything stand up for you guys? What do you think is going to happen next?
I think the next chapter is going to be mostly the flashback, and then we're going to have an ending with sort of coming back to the present and setting up how this whole flashback will help them beat Gas, which could just be, hey guys, there are more Dragon Balls right here hiding underground. Just use them. But I think that's what's going to happen, and that's all.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things where I think they did the same thing with the Maro arc, where they're like hyping up Vegeta's spirit fission attack, and you're like, okay, that's how they're going to beat Maro, and Vegeta's finally going to get a win. This is going to be so cool. And then at the end, it just ends up not being that. It was a red herring. I'm kind of thinking this might be the same thing. I think we're getting the flashback mostly for the benefit of Bardock. We're getting all the extra backstory between Bardock and the connection with Goku, and we're fleshing that out. I'm not sure, because they seem to be doing okay, honestly. Like if they just keep outsmarting Gas into some sort of situation that he can't get out of. But I guess we're at that point where they're trying to figure that part out. But at this point, I don't know if he's just going to be like, oh yeah, Bardock was fighting him until he wet his pants and then he was useless.
Well, kind of going off of what might happen next. So, sorry.
Oh, go ahead, man. No, that's pretty much
I just thought it was interesting how when Alec makes the wish for Gas to become the strongest warrior in the universe. I thought it was interesting that they didn't show that, just because what I'm hoping for is that Gas might have forgotten that when you make that sort of wish to Torombo, that you can lose a great portion of your life. And, because I know Granola told them that's what happened when he initially was more powerful. But I think it's interesting, the fact that Gas wasn't there for when Alec made that wish. I'm interested to see if he'll later find out, he'll be reminded that, oh yeah, I just lost a whole bunch of my life.
Oh yeah, and because you had the moment.
He didn't want the wish to begin with.
You had the moment in this chapter when Goku tried to talk him out of being evil or whatever. So I guess that's a great point. That's gonna.
And I think that's one of those things that that was why it was so cruel to me when he made that wish, because it just really struck me in a strange way. I was like, this seems particularly harsh to wish on your brother. So it would be interesting if that were a reason for Gas to either stop doing what he's doing or change. No, I don't think he would fully change sides, but that kind of stuff. A motive to shake things up.
I think you guys nailed it. I absolutely see that happening. If Granola gets revived and then he reveals oh yeah, my wish made it so I condensed all my life to only having 2 or 3 years left. And if that information didn't get passed on to Gas, he could be like, what? I didn't know that. And because you're even stronger than Granola, we've actually compressed it down to just 1 week. We only needed you alive for 1 week. Because we've clearly shown that Electric Boogaloo, he's clearly all about using everybody to his own benefit. And so I absolutely see that being a turning point. That actually be a great little twist. Is Gas just ends up taking out that guy, Alec the kid, and ends up. I don't see him totally changing sides on that, but it would be almost interesting if they're like, actually, we made you so strong, you only have a day left, and that runs out right now. And then Gas just dies, and then they're like, okay, well, that was resolved. But
I can really see that happening.
I mean, we've also seen that his brothers, his sister, I forgot what their names are, but like they have the same, they have like the same necklace that Gas did, and they even said in the last chapter, like, oh, do you want us to take ours off as well? So I mean, they might transform at some point as well. I mean, another possibility.
I mean, yeah, because at this point in this arc, pretty much all the gloves have been taken off. This is supposed to be the most powerful version of Gas, and he's even awakened his whatever species he has power and all that stuff. So how can it escalate even further? Is this arc wrapping up, you guys think, or do you think we still have another big thing? As I said earlier in this podcast, I think Frieza is bound to make an appearance. They've mentioned his name so many times, and he seems to be connected to mostly Granola's story, because it seems like because he originally had the hatred of the Saiyans, and then they're like, oh, it was actually Frieza who told them to do all that. He's just like, oh, well, okay, I guess I have to take care of that now. I would love it if at the end of this arc, if Frieza doesn't show up, that's Granola's next mission. And then hopefully we get some more Frieza stuff in the next series, or the next chapter, or arc. That's about all I needed to say about it. Any closing comments, guys?
Want more Bardock?
Yeah,
it's coming.
yeah, I absolutely think it's coming in the next chapter. How about you, Francesco?
Nope. All right. That's everything for me. And I can wait for next month and the next chapter to come out.
Yeah, same here. And if you guys haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. We're going to have new podcasts and new discussions out weekly. I'm Jason Hahn. Please check out Screen Rant. We've got lots of great articles for video game news, comic book news, and movies. I'm also the creator of a YouTube series called Honzy and Friends. If you're into video games and comedy, go ahead and check that out. Steven, you got anything you want to plug, man?
Just that I want people to start reading more of the newer Shonen Jump series. Like, there's a lot of good ones out there, like Ghost Reaper Girl. I really think that's I really recommend that. DanDaDan, and also one that's like severely underrated, even though it's over 100 chapters. Undead, Unluck. Got to read that. Good stuff.
I'm about 2 chapters into Undead, and it's awesome so far. Excited to get more into it. But you, Carlyle?
I'm working on my visual novel still, Elven Revenue Service, for very RPG 90s and SNES kind of theme to it. So if you want to check that out, you can.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, check that out. There's a link in the description to that. And you guys are going to be having a Kickstarter for that pretty soon, yeah?
Yeah, hopefully. I'm trying to get that all set up to go down in April. So we'll see.
All right, cool. Check the links in the description and keep updated on that, because that should be a good amount of fun. How about you, Francesco?
Nope, no projects at the moment. As I have one, I will share it with you guys. No worries.
No worries, man. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Go ahead and let us know in the comments all the things you agreed with us on, I'm sure, or any other things that you want to bring up, and we'll happily we might talk about it next time and all that good stuff. But I hope you enjoyed, and have a good night.